YouTubers, Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel, bringing you another housing crisis video. I forgot to mention Seattle in the trends in the housing market. I got a few messages from people on what's going on the ground in Seattle. So I'm going to make a side Seattle video because Seattle's had its ups and ups, no downs. But now they're experiencing a huge down in the last quarter. The housing stock is growing and no one's buying. The price of homes right now in Seattle are down 75,000 in the last benchmark across the board. They're down 75,000 in the last quarter after the Vancouver municipal government passed a law to tax foreign investors, and now they're taxing empty homes. What's happened is a lot of people went down to Seattle to buy, and a lot of people went out east of Toronto to buy, to cause that frenzy of housing bubbles that are happening all over the world. So with cheap debt and cheap historically record low interest rates to help stimulate the economy, if anything, it's been hindering the middle class, and you're seeing a mass exodus of people leaving King County and moving to other more affordable parts east of Washington State and Oregon and California. So let's look at this, people. Seattle housing experiences high demands as tech companies continue to grow. So they're blaming the tech company sector, and I read an article for you guys how there's 5 tech workers living in one house because they could barely afford to own their own place. So, sensational headlines, too quick to call for housing downturn, may face pushback from expansion in the tech industry. Seattle remains the top tech 30 market in North America, according to CBRE Tech Report, with high-tech jobs expanding 26% over the last 2 years. Colaria's research is tracking nearly 6.5 million square feet of Class A office space in Seattle. Reports 66.2% is now occupied by tech users, representing an estimate of 30,000. Information worker STEM fire jobs, with another 12,000 workers supporting those jobs. Meanwhile, millions of square feet of new office space and active development participates further job growth and sustained housing demand ahead. So it kind of reminds me of Bitcoin. It's like it's in the air. It's out there, right? And tech jobs, all these tech companies, and the value of these tech companies, they have no intrinsic value. They have no actual value they don't have no commodities. They have no collateral. So to me, when people say, Mike, why are you investing in oil now? Oh, man, great. I've been investing in oil the last 3 weeks. It's the best decision I made. And why? Because those oil companies have rigs, tractors, pickup trucks, staff. They have everything. They have collateral. They have land. They have offshore stuff. They have all kinds of prospects and stuff that they own land. So tech companies don't have that. They have office space, and I don't think that's valuable. And that's why I have very little. Invested in technology. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Tesla does okay up and down. It's got its upswings. Had a massive upswing, but it went on a downturn and it's back up again. But I'm not a whole tech guy. I'm not a tech guy, and I believe that tech. I just don't. There's no collateral in it. You know what I'm saying? There's no assets in it. So they got office space. Yoo-hoo. Okay, Seattle wants to give away land for affordable housing. That's how bad it's getting there. The move is aimed at introducing more density and economic diversity to central neighborhoods that offer essential services. Why? Because doctors, lawyers, police officers, garbage men, nurses can't afford to live in Seattle. As the cost of land in Seattle and neighborhood cities has spiked to a dizzying heights, affordable housing developers have left with a choice. They can pay more for property in centrally located neighborhoods with good access to transit, jobs, schools, food, and services, but build fewer units of housing. Or they can maximize their housing development at the margins of the city or out in the country, where residents will have much less access to the things they need in their daily lives. It is a vexing problem for the city in need of more affordable housing options, and one that is likely to abate, since the market value of land in these central neighborhoods probably won't see a significant drop anytime soon. A boost in funding for affordable housing developers is just unlikely. But what will happen if these developers weren't weren't hemmed in by the market values. That is the question and the core of the new tactic being employed by elected officials and housing advocates, selling or even giving away unutilized public land on which to build housing. So it's affordable housing, and when I say affordable housing, it's not people living in tents. I'm talking about people that work for the city. And I've got a lot of people messaging me from King County telling me they're moving south to Olympia or Oregon, and they're finding the same problems there too, because other people are moving out of these big cities and they're manipulating the markets. Look what's happening at Salt Lake City, Utah. Look what's happening in Reno, Nevada. Look what's happening in Las Vegas. Look what's happening in Phoenix, Arizona. People migrating from the West Coast because they just can't afford to live. Seattle considers $3 million to tent shelters homeless. Again, encouraged by local doctors, inspired by Los Angeles Project, council member Mosqueda wants to take public health approach to the ongoing crisis. So Seattle considers $3 million tent to shelter homeless. The urging of local public health official council member Teresa Mosqueda is proposing that the city of Seattle spend $3 million to open a mass shelter tent with 75 to 100 temporary beds for people living on the streets. There they go, finding ways to shelter the homeless. Wall Street Journal. Housing market positioned for greater slowdown than 2007. So housing market and stocks and housing companies are going down. Look at Seattle. Everything's positioned for a downturn as we speak. There are a number of reasons to believe this shift will persist. Mortgage rates have risen about a percentage point over the past year, pinching the demand for homes. Rising prices have squeezed affordability. In addition, the tax law passed in December reduced home ownership incentives. Foreign buyers have pulled back, and ample supply of rental apartments has made buying less urgent for many. Here we go, another one. Seattle market is cooling, but brokers don't expect any freeze anytime soon. I wouldn't believe what a broker says ever. King County news. Let me just close this. Sorry, guys. The article is... Oh, it's about the cost of living for 75 large, what you could buy, what you could afford to buy for $75,000.
The corner of 65th and Roosevelt shows the intersection of old Seattle and new. Zach Burt just moved here.
It's pretty expensive. I actually came from KC just last year.
The 24-year-old food service worker who lives with his girlfriend was not expecting the cost of living to be so high.
Rent's probably 50% higher.
It's not a neighborhood, but a citywide issue, according to the new research from the University of Washington.
A lot of the jobs that have been created before and since the recession, the Great Recession, they haven't been self-sufficiency wage jobs.
Her team says the price to live here has skyrocketed. Let's take your average family of four. We'll call them Jim and Jane Johnson and their two kids, and we'll say they live in Wallingford, of all places. The Johnsons pay $1,528 a month for rent and almost $2,000 a month in childcare. You add that all up with other expenses, and it costs the Johnsons over $75,000 a year just to scrape by. The same self-sufficiency study shows the Johnsons would need $94,000 a year on the east side.
Housing and childcare costs, absolutely. Those are the things that have been driving the shift in every county that we've looked at that has been where the gap has increased.
There is no magic answer to reverse the trend.
I don't know, man.
But it is further evidence for what people are already seeing with their own eyes. In Seattle, Chris Daniels, King 5 News.
Thank you, King 5, for giving this information to us. Let's move on. What low-income Seattle 72,000? We just saw that in the video. And what the heck is this? How do you close this thing? Someone sent me this article, too, from King County. Okay. The market will not fix the twin... Okay, you know what? Screw you. Let's move on. Rents for Seattle's luxury apartments are falling, while cost of apartments are high and rising. So low-cost apartments are going up, while luxury apartments are empty and vacant. If one is stuck with the tools and standard economics, he or she will not be able to make sense of the fact that during the course of Seattle's construction boom, developers have mostly produced luxury apartments and almost entirely neglected the huge demand of affordable apartments. The fact is not square with the classical law, supply and demand. Orthodox economics also lacks the explanatory power to elucidate the current state of Seattle's rental market. Nothing in the books or models can predict the situation we are in now. The prices for luxury apartments are falling because the glut that will only grow because more luxury apartments are still under construction. So more luxury apartments breaking ground and no one to buy them. Redfin's Glenn Kelman predicts a mass tech exodus from coastal cities. And it's back again to what I was saying. Mass of companies of talent to smaller cities and other parts of the country. And this is what's happening, people, in California. This is exactly what's happening right now in California, and Oregon, and Washington State. People had enough. People aren't working for the sake of working, because you're just working to work. And that's what it is. A lot of people say, okay, I'll give you an explanation, my explanation on this. You know, why they don't make fuel tanks so big in cars to give you more fuel? There's a reason why. It's not because they want you to drive further before fill-ups. It's because it gets to a certain point, the weight of the vehicle, you start adding more fuel to the vehicle. You're actually carrying fuel to carry more fuel. That's all you're carrying fuel for after. You're not carrying fuel to get you where you're going. It's getting you where you're going, but then the excess fuel and the excess weight is just there to carry more fuel. So you're adding fuel to carry fuel. And that's what's happening, and that's how I see it. So I want to know what you guys think. That's how it is in the work market now. You're just working to work, and that's it. So you're working to work in loops to work again, to work again, to work again, to work for what you work. So it's carrying fuel for fuel. That's what you're doing. Let me know what you guys think. Comment below.